class, upper middle class guy who got everything he ever wanted. He portrayed himself as rags to riches, as nothing to everything. Andrew Carnegie truly was, but John D. Rockefeller, no. He was not. He had everything he ever wanted in his life and took advantage of that. As pious, know the word. What are some other words? As brilliant, he knew every single thing you could possibly know about the manufacturing of oil. He was amazing in how he could account for anything in any part of his company at any point in time, and about as nice as a rock in the face. He would go to your mom, tell her that she's charming and wonderful, and then steal everything out of your house. This is as evil, as cutthroat, as ruthless, and brilliant a man as we've ever seen in American society. You can't beat him for business practice. You can't beat him for ruthlessness. You can't get anybody more dynamic, awful. Look at it. He just looks bad as an amazing person. His innovation was not vertical integration. His innovation, his way of setting price, which is what you want to do, was horizontal integration. Here's his company, A. He bought or blew up or destroyed everybody else producing oil. Horizontal integration is to go to your competitor and say, I'd like to buy your company. And the competitor would say, no. Well, he would then blow up the pipeline for his competitor. And then within 6 months, the competitor goes, okay, I got to sell you the company. After B got blown up, what would C say? C would say, yes. Well, D would say, no, I'm not going to do it, and you're not going to blow up my pipeline. Well, then Rockefeller would work out a deal saying, oh, how about if I supply you this necessary thing for your manufacturing of the oil, for your development of the oil? And the guy, oh, good. And he'd enter into a contractual relationship, and 6 months later, Rockefeller would say, oh, you're dependent upon oil? On this thing to manufacture oil? Boom, you're gone. You're destroyed. And he jacked the price up 5,000%, and the person would be out of business. So it's buy out, blow up, or what's the other one to put them out of business? Destroy their ability to make business. By 1892, he had 90% of the oil industry all within his control. This is amazing business. Well, it violates the rules of capitalism because he's setting price, because he's denying competition. Yes, monopoly does that, but maybe he's just better at it than everybody else. What is it? Is it evil? Or is it just better business practices? You got to make your mind up. Because he not only does horizontal integration, he comes up with innovative and creative ways of doing it. He creates the trust, which is, all of these companies are seemingly independent, but they're not. They all give power over to a larger company called the Standard Oil Trust. And the Standard Oil Trust operated and made these companies do what he wanted. So now you have the term for what's going on. The pool was the informal agreement to set price. What's the trust? The formal agreement to set price. And you simply have something that everybody belongs to that now tells everybody what to do. That's the trust. That's what was set up by John D. Rockefeller. And the Standard Oil Trust, as I've said, controlled 90% of the producers of oil in the United States of America. That's brilliant. That's amazing. Look also, you can also have interlocking directorates. Guys sit on the board of directors of seemingly independent companies so that all the decisions are made by all the same guys so that it's actually not competitive. Or you can have holding companies. Holding companies, what's a holding company? Well, this company holds, operates all these other ones. I wonder if KFC is really in competition with Pizza Hut, is really in competition with Taco Bell. They're all independent fast food companies. No, they're not! They're all owned by PepsiCo. PepsiCo owns Pepsi and all those different brands of cola, seemingly in competition with each other. And they own all those fast food restaurants. They're all owned by PepsiCo. That's holding companies. So this all thing is set up in an amazing way by John D. Rockefeller to deny competition, to stop the law of supply and demand, to make it so that you don't have the price set by law of supply and demand, that you set your own price. It's brilliant. Remember, horizontal integration by John D. Rockefeller, vertical integration by Andrew Carnegie, and it's brilliant. Well, what's happening to the price of oil? It's a little bit high because it's being set not by law of supply and demand, but the price of oil is a little bit too high. Are the people upset? Oh, they're furious. They're going, this is horrible, this goes against everything we believe as Americans. And they run to the federal government. And the federal government goes, we're going to have to set some regulations here. We've already had the Interstate Commerce Commission set up to regulate the railroad industry. Did it work? No teeth. It didn't. Well, what's going to happen with the Sherman Antitrust Act? And if you ever memorize something, what have we already memorized? Congress can pass any law necessary and proper to carry out an enumerated power. Well, this is the second thing you're going to memorize, because this is the Sherman Antitrust Act passed by Congress in 1890. And it said that you cannot combine to restrain trade. It outlaws combinations in restraint of trade. Everyone got it? Combinations in restraint of trade are outlawed by the Sherman Antitrust Act. Bingo! You can't combine to restrain trade. Do we understand that? You are not allowed to put companies together, combining companies that restrain trade, that stop the law of supply and demand. Thank you. Yeah, regulation, Antitrust Act works. Sorry, didn't. Why? Because who wrote the Sherman Antitrust Act? John D. Rockefeller's attorney! That's smart. That's brilliant. And he goes to these, John D. Rockefeller sends his attorney down to Washington, D.C., pays a few bucks, writes out the law, and makes it so that although it's great to not allow combinations and restraining trade, there's no enforcement mechanism. And no company will ever get touched by the Sherman Antitrust Act. That's American capitalism. That's what happens to this country in the late 1800s. It's a fascinating story that says a lot about us, good and bad. Remember the issue? Men, machines, or money? What accounts for the growth of American capitalism in the late 1800s? Thanks.